It's been too long. Let's start 2024 off right. Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to have you here with me. Welcome back to the What's on Your Mind podcast. I've really missed doing this for my own show. It's been 2023. To give a little bit of personal recap, it was a year. It was a lot happened in 2023. A lot of good, a lot of bad, especially for the end of my 2023. It did not end the best at all. I had a great Christmas and a great New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, so I'm thankful to God for that. But it just didn't end the best. And I looked back on the last episode I published, and it was in May. And for the people who care, for whoever listens to this, I just want to issue an apology to my audience because that's way too long for content. And I do have excuses. I do have reasons why that no episodes have been published since then. And it still even shocks me, even with the reasonings I have and knowing how the year plays, it still shocks me that I haven't published since May. Like, it's been too long. So I genuinely am very sorry for the lack of content for my own personal podcast. And to kind of get into the excuses part of this portion, just if you want to hear me more than what I may produce for my own show, I am a podcast host for my job. To give you a reminder, I am a student at Michigan State University. I currently am a junior, almost a senior, almost 21, Jesus Christ. But I'm a student at Michigan State, and my main job is at the State News. It's a news organization, and I am the podcast editor there. Now, the podcast editor, I was formerly known as the podcast coordinator, but I've been technically promoted, at least title-wise, to podcast editor, to where I oversee 5 podcasts, and I am a host of now 3 of them. When I first started this podcast, I wasn't even at the State News, but while I was working at the State News, it was really just one podcast I was a part of host-wise, and now I'm a part of 3 out of the 5. And we used to have 4, and now we have 5, and I'm part of 3 of them. I am a host of the first and currently only all-black podcast of the State News called All Shades of Chocolate with myself, Jada Vassar, and Shakira Maybone, which is now a nationally recognized and award-winning podcast. Shout out the Pacemaker Award we received, where we talk about really things black culture. We tie it into ourselves and school and black entertainment, black media, things of that nature. And yeah, and to shout out Jada and Shakira as well, I won't go too deep on a personal level. They know specifically, but to give a message to them and a general message, thank both of you so much for the things you both did for me individually to get me to where I am, because I wouldn't have this job without them or Samaya Overall, the former editor-in-chief of the State News. And, like, just from a literal sense, obviously not counting Jesus Christ, but from a literal sense, I wouldn't be here without black women. My mom, and, well, one, because obviously, like I said, in a literal sense, she birthed me, and her and my dad allowed me and raised me to get me to this point. But Shakira, again, formerly podcast coordinator, it was Shakira's job. And if you're familiar with me, you know this story, but she pretty much gave me this job. She wanted to move to a different position at the State News, and she knew I had my own podcast, and she literally gave her position to me. She recommended me. Her and Jada were talking, and then they recommended me to Samaya, who Samaya gave me the interview, accepted me, hired me on the spot after the interview, and the rest has been history. So I wouldn't be where I'm at now, because I am recording this in the State News office. I wouldn't be here without them. So as much as I would love to only be creating content for my own personal podcast, the obligation and responsibility I have here and the love I have for this job and this organization, it takes precedent. I think that's the word I could use here, but it's going to be my priority over even my own podcast, even though my own podcast got me this job. So it is a hard balance, because when I'm working full time. Like, even though I'm only a host of 3 podcasts, I edit all 5. So if there's a good day, then I don't have to do that much edits, and I just have to transcribe the audio. But if there's a bad day, then that's up to an hour, sometimes even hour and a half of editing per show. So it's a tedious job, but it's a job I would never complain about, because I would love to do this for a career. So this at least gives me some type of starting point to elevate my portfolio to hopefully do this long term in the future. So that's really the main reason why I haven't been able to upload like for my own personal podcast, but also just as far as mental health goes, I'm not someone that tries to have like a, oh, woe is me or go for pity. But again, especially towards the end of 2023 and just 2023 in general, it was just a lot. I haven't been able to be in the space to want to make podcast content. And I had so many ideas wrote down that I'm going to, obviously these are going to turn into the episodes you hear. But just to get back in that mindset of recording for myself, again, it's the reason why it took from May to January of next year for me to do so. Whether that be the time consumption of my job, the mental things I went through, it was just a lot. And I do apologize for it's, as of recording, it's January 6th. These probably won't be uploaded till the next day, the 7th, or the Monday, the 8th. So, yeah. And I feel like somebody like Corey Kenshin, I can't ever promise a consistent schedule, but I'm aiming, like I said earlier, I would love to do something like this full time. So I'm going to put forth that effort to show that I'm here to stay. And a lot of things I see from podcast hosts, especially male podcast hosts, really, really tick me off. So I want to be a good example. And to segue in today's topic, you guys saw the title. It's crazy to realize that certain things that are appreciated nowadays, rightfully so are appreciated, are just like basic human things. At least in my opinion, basic human things are basic human respect. And at least now in 2024, there's a new meaning to the bare minimum. It's more so, you think about it more in dating culture, to where you would say like, okay, you're looking for this ideal partner, you want to be treated this way, and so forth, so forth. And you hear women say it a lot of the time, like, oh, I want a man that does X, Y, and Z, but really X, Y, and Z is just respect them. And it sucks that those have to be the standards for men and women, but especially women, because these are the things that should come to the table anyway. You hear these conversations about, what do you bring to the table, or what do you do for me, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, do y'all just even love each other? Like, can we just start there? Or even, not even just look, can we start at getting to know someone, getting to know their interest, doing things to make them feel wanted? It just genuinely, it mind boggles me, because the things that even I've caught myself saying like, oh, thank you for, it's like, it's the bare minimum. Like, not even from just relationships. There's a running joke between me and my dad ever since really the pandemic, but it's been an issue even a little bit before the pandemic, of just basic customer service. Like, when we walk into a store, 9 times out of 10, no one's going to speak to us worker wise. Like, no one's going to say like, hey, how are you doing? Do you need help? And when we do get it, that 1 time out of 10 where the worker does be like, oh, hey, how are you doing? Or do you need help? It's like a shock. At this point now, it's a shock. Like, wow. Like, just that alone, I consider that good customer service. And like, not even if they don't even follow up, if they never sign us again, just when we walk into a store, someone talking to us and asking like, do we need help? It blows my mind, because it doesn't happen no more. And you can make many arguments about this. You could say maybe that's entitlement on our behalf of the customers, expecting the workers to do their job and to speak to us. I mean, if you want to consider that entitlement, you can. Or again, them asking that question, it's not some mind-blowing question. It's in their job description. It's what they should be doing. And obviously it's difficult when they have a customer in front of them and then another customer walks in, or if they're the only one there, then you can't always speak to every customer that walks in. But there have been many instances where we just walk by a worker and they just don't acknowledge us. And that blows my mind, because it's like, okay, what are you here for? Like, even though I get when people say this, a lot of people in customer service say they don't like people. Well, why the heck are you in customer service? Like, that's probably the worst position for you to be in if you don't like people, if you don't like talking to people. And the answer to that is because most of the jobs that are available are customer service, so you can't really get out of it. But it just mind boggles me. Or another running joke is when me and my dad, we'd go to a drive-thru or a restaurant and they wouldn't like have like an attitude, or they wouldn't have snarky remarks, or they'd smile at us, or the biggest thing that's funny, and I used to be so confused with my dad to complain about this, and now I get it, putting napkins in the bag. Like that changes home, that make the food taste better. Because at least from his perspective, he like, well, it's the most basic thing you could put with food is napkins, so you could be clean. Like, it don't make sense. Like, shout out Phantom, it just makes sense when you put the napkins in the bag. And I used to look at him so crazy because he'd literally go, like, you know how you go through a drive-thru and you wait in line and you get to the drive-thru, you get your food. He'll literally either go all the way back around in the drive-thru or go back in the restaurant to get napkins. And I'd be looking at him like, it's not that deep. But it is that deep. Like, it is that deep, at least now, it's in my opinion. So it just, the bare minimum to me, I sit and think about it. And it's like, I ask myself, like, what is the bare minimum now? Because at first, the bare minimum was basic respect. Like, okay, if we talk about relationships, like, don't cheat. Don't put your hands on a woman or on each other, really. Or don't cheat on each other. Or don't lie to each other. Treat people with basic respect. But it's become so diluted that that's just the standard. That's not even the bare minimum. That's just all somebody would want. And then the bare minimum becomes like when you think about it, like somebody's I heard somebody call it non-negotiables, and one of my non-negotiables is to not be cheated on. That should be the bare minimum in a relationship. Like, that, you shouldn't even have to think as that being something that you don't want to deal with. At least in my opinion, that shouldn't be something somebody wouldn't want to deal with, because that should be the bare minimum. That should be given. But that's not the bare minimum for people. That's like a goal some people would have to achieve, to not cheat on somebody or to find somebody that don't cheat on them. It's insane. Or like, again, in customer service, you would just expect off rip the worker would speak to you and ask if you need help. But it don't always happen. So it really brings a new sense of appreciation when you do get these forms of communication or help or assistance, because it works both ways. When you get so used to something, when it doesn't happen, it frustrates you, or it confuses you. And then on the other end, when something doesn't happen a lot and then you get it, it confuses you, because like, you're not used to this. Like, again, if we look at it from a dating perspective, and I've tied this into, I wrote an essay, and maybe this should even be, I think I have made a podcast episode about this, but like zodiac signs, people who believe in zodiac signs or crystals or any of those things, right? Specifically more zodiac signs in this example. Like, some people feel it's the dumbest thing to believe in. And even I used to express more harsh opinions on it, because it's not something I believe in. I am religious, I am Christian, and so I don't put my values or beliefs in things like zodiac signs or crystals. But what I lacked was the understanding of people who do. And then I wrote an essay, I think in 10th grade, that allowed me to understand and to get to this conclusion that, let's take, for example, you date 5 guys, and like, you're a woman and you date 5 guys, or if you're gay, if you're into guys, and you date 5, let's just say people, you date 5 people, and each of those people cheat on you, or each of those people do you wrong, right? You would be wondering, like, the human brain is going to automatically try and comprehend why that happened. Even if there's no reason for it, you didn't do anything, the human brain is naturally going to try and comprehend, why did this happen to me? If there's a correlation between all those guys, then it's natural for somebody to latch on to that. So I say that to say, if you date 5 people and they all did you wrong, and they're all a Taurus or a Capricorn, you're most likely not going to want to keep dating Capricorns or Tauruses, because you don't want to keep experiencing that hurt again. So it makes sense when somebody removes themselves from that demographic of people. And I just think about it in terms of going through certain things and experiencing, or maybe not experiencing certain things, that when you're so used to good or bad customer service, when you get the opposite, it kind of deconstructs your brain or how you think about certain things. Like, again, like I said earlier in this recording, I genuinely get shocked when a worker speaks to me and asks me, do I need help now? Even when I walk in, if I walk right past them, because I've gotten so accustomed to not getting that. And I put my blame on it towards the pandemic, in terms of like 2020, 2021, however long it officially lasted, because people still getting COVID. People don't like talking about that. But for as long as it, quote unquote, lasted for, people were, especially during the peak of COVID, people were in their houses. They didn't interact with people. People didn't have jobs. So establishments weren't really open. So now post COVID, you simply don't know how to talk to people. You probably don't know how to talk to people. So you're not used to having, like, if you're a worker, you're probably not used to that customer service. Or if you're a customer, you're not used to problem solving. Or if you have a problem, not cussing the worker out. And it's a whole thing. Again, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not somebody who does this or studies this professionally. But that would just be my assumption of it. But in terms of concluding this episode, it's interesting to look and think about what the bare minimum is and what the bare minimum can do for somebody. And I've always thought, when interacting with people, I'm a very big person on compliments. Like, I compliment people almost. It's natural at this point. I was at the grocery store, and it was an older lady. It was an older white lady who was she was scanning the food and putting it in the bags really, really fast. I'm sitting there like, wow, oh my gosh. And I'm talking to her like, you must be the best at doing this. Like, you must have been doing this for a minute because you're doing it so fast. And I'm geeking her head up, but I'm not trying to geek her head up. I'm just genuinely me talking. And my dad goes say some, man, you over there, like, you really, I forget how he worded it exactly, but he like, you really gassing her head up or whatever. And then the lady laughed, I laughed. I'm like, Dad, you're not supposed to, if I was, you're not supposed to say it. Like, you fumbling the bag. But it was so funny. I wasn't trying to flirt with her or nothing. His joke was pretty much saying like I'm flirting. And it's like, that's just genuinely me. But the point I'm making in terms of the topic of this episode is, you never know what that can do for somebody. Like, you never know what a simple compliment or a simple smile or the bare minimum could do for somebody, especially when they have expectations of not getting it. You never know how that could change somebody's perspective on life specifically, but even just on that specific interaction with that person or restaurant or food. Again, even though I jokingly said it, it may make the food taste better if you get a good customer experience, or if you just get the bare minimum of not getting cussed out, or on the worker's perspective, not dealing with a bad customer, or the customer being patient. Like, you never know what that does for somebody's mind or their patience or their mental state. So I just hope that whoever listens to this, or whoever may think about this in their life, that they think about the other perspective and just the bare minimum of what could go on based on your actions, especially when it comes to like relationships. So, like, you never know what could make or break somebody's life or their mindset or relationship. So the bare minimum is enough. It could be enough depending on that person and depending on what you consider the bare minimum. And just don't take it for granted, because certain things you may get in life, somebody else may not be used to. Somebody may not be able to get those opportunities to get what you may consider basic or the bare minimum. So it just brings a new appreciation to me when I think about it, and I hope it does the same for you. And with that being said, like I always say at the end of each episode, I'm very grateful for the people who listen to me and the people who even give me the opportunity to have an audience, whether it's 10 people, 5 people, 1 person, 100 people. It doesn't matter. And like, one more shout out to you guys. I got my Spotify Wrapped because I use Spotify for podcasters to publish my content. And I had a Wrapped in the first place. And it said I was listened to in like 5 countries. My most popular or listened to episode was my interview with Imani. Shout out Imani Staley, our interview. We got to get another one in soon. And that just made me so happy. Like, you would have thought I was an artist getting like 1 million billion streams or something. But like, those little things matter to me so much. And I'm so grateful to you guys. So I hope you tune into the next episode. And I hope you have a great new year. I hope you have a great 2024 in general. And see you soon. Bye.